The vintage showcase season is almost over. 4 LCQs remain before the qualifier. I need to 5-0 one of these events to get in. Good luck. Okay, welcome back, Vintage Gamer, to the first of a maybe two streamed and one maybe recorded Vintage LCQ Last Chance Qualifier for the Mox Showcase Qualifier. There's a lot of qualifier names, but this is a single elimination high stakes tournament. You need 5 wins. If you get 5 wins, you are invited into the invite only showcase qualifier, where people who top 8'd the 3 vintage showcases will all play out for a Mox slot. Big deal. If you're wondering why this video is appearing before my last showcase video, it's because there won't be a last showcase video. Some unfortunate things happened that were mostly my fault, involving I chose not to stream because I was upset about being stream sniped in an earlier event, and I wanted to focus on playing. However, focusing on playing did not go very well, as I registered the wrong deck, F6 through a turn, and generally did not have very good focus and O2'd the vintage showcase. So it was a bit of a nightmare scenario, and obviously my fault. So there will be no third showcase video, but we're going to try to record at least some of these last chance qualifiers, high stakes action, so that people get good content. What else? So this is a brew that I've been working on that has had very good league results. Multiple 4-1s. I think I conceded 1-5-0 just to hide it. This is a Miharu style Rug Oath control deck with 4 ponders. This is a deck that is benefiting from the ponder unrestriction, and I think benefits very heavily in a Luris Saga metagame, especially a Luris Saga metagame that is moving towards blue-black as the dominant version of control. A lot of these threats are extremely hard to answer for blue-black, and they are also very good against the primary game plans of blue-black. And I find that this deck is one of the few decks that is allowed to play main deck anti-jewel cards like Null Rod and Energy Flux. With looting and ponder and pitching to Force of Will, I find that these cards are not as big of a liability in this style deck. So if you've seen previous Miharu Oath decks in the past few years, you'll probably recognize most of the card choices in this deck. It is a control deck. It is not playing Show and Tell for Oath. It is playing Atraxa as its 2 Oath targets and playing a pile of Planeswalkers, including Oko, Dak Faden, Narset, and Renin 6 as its main way to win. I am choosing to play Null Rod and Energy Flux in the flex slots here as knockout cards against things like Jewel. Null Rod is very good against Jewel, Breach, and PO, whereas Flux is very good against controlling Saga decks. I find all of the Planeswalkers are very good against controlling Saga decks, especially Renin 6. Renin 6 looping back Wastelands or just fetch lands so that they can't attack you with their own Wastelands has proven to be very, very strong. I think Renin 6 and Loam are 2 cards that are, and Crucible of Worlds, actually. I almost played Prison Shops for the showcase because I thought Prison Shops lined up pretty well against the field. With the addition of 4 Ponders, I think it's very reasonable to play both Delve spells on the top. And I've retooled the sideboard to be better against the current versions of the format, with Ravenous Trap as my answer to Dredge, and then Dismember as my answer to Mono White, and a second Flux, a second Null Rod, and a second Mindbreak Trap for Jewel. I think this deck is incredible versus Jewel. I like this deck. I'm worried most actually about Mono White. The Mono White matchup, even when you played Show and Tell, was like kind of a mess. And I'm not actually sure that this deck is that great against Mono White. I'm hoping and kind of predicting that the grinder heavy metagame of this LCQ will be a lot of blue-black Luris. That's the metagame prediction we're trying to capitalize on, and we'll see if we can do that today in this LCQ. It will be up to 5 rounds. The minute you get a loss, you are out of contention. Maybe we'll continue streaming, but you have to get 5 wins, 5-0, to earn your spot. I will see you in round 1. Have you ever wanted to win your own real Black Lotus? The legendary NYSE Vintage Tournament returns this June 22nd on Long Island in New York. 15 proxy, high stakes, paper vintage action with 8 whole pieces of unlimited power as prizes. You are not going to want to miss it. Check out more information in the description below. I hope to see you there. Let's battle. All right, here we go in round 1. Opponent could be on shops. They didn't reveal Luris. This hand just doesn't have castable magic cards, so I'm going to put it back. This hand has Force and Wasteland, so looks like a good keep to me. Flux is definitely good if they're on shops. One of the problems with Flux, especially in this deck, is I don't have a lot of... Oh, I didn't show up the deck. I don't have a lot of accelerated mana, so it can be quite hard to get it down in time. It does look like they are on shops, so Flux should be great here if I can make it to 3 mana. Definitely going to let a Patchwork go. Hopefully we can survive long enough to get to a Flux. We'll see what happens. Double Mox. 3 cards in hand. Obviously need to counter a Sphere here. Yep. I mean, there's no guarantee we make it there, especially on the draw. On the play, I think we'd be in a really good spot. On the draw, we're a little behind. Best draw is obviously Black Lotus. Any Moxin's a good draw as well. Oath is a good draw as well. Just gonna go Tropical Island, go, and maybe we'll be able to deploy an Oath on the next turn. We'll see what happens. I kind of think it's more likely that we just get like second sphered or wastelanded out of this game. None of our lands were a fetch land. So. Yeah, but if they have a Saga in hand, they're more likely to wasteland it, right? I think it's like a little here and a little there. I don't think your reasoning is bad, not me. I think it's totally fine. But I think it all kind of washes. This is a lodestone. A Karn. That's actually bad for us because they can just get a cage, huh? I thought it was good because it wasn't like affecting the Patchwork and it wasn't affecting my Oath, but I guess. This might just be fast enough. We still don't even know if my opponent has a Wasteland or not. I think that the deck I'm playing right now is like worse against shops than a Show and Tell Oath deck, but it still has a lot of good tools. I'm not... Sphere of Resistance was the card that got with Karn. No land follow-up. So this means that they have to get a cage, but they can play cage and Sphere. So I think this is losing for us. I would have needed to be able to play Flux on the next turn. And it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to do that. Wait, they got a Sphere of Resistance? Oh, because we exiled it with Force of Negation, they were able to get it with Karn. Brutal. I think I'm still supposed to always exile and save the 1 life. I don't think this corner case is as prevalent as 1 life. But, yeah, not great. Maybe they don't have a cage in their sideboard. You never know. About to find out. If they have a cage, I don't think we can come back from this. But if they have a cage. All right, well, technically we have a Boseiju in our deck. That's probably our 1-outer, but we're running out of time. Yeah, it's like pretty uncommon to get Karned, but we do get Karned a lot. This is basically a match entirely lost on the die roll, but that's just Magic. We're pretty lucky we didn't get wastelanded in this game, so can't complain too much. Oko I can't cast. I think Oko would be too late, so yeah, everything else is going to be too late. So it's theoretically possible that if I had Force of Willed the Sphere of Resistance, we could have won this game. I'm not saying that Force of Negating over Force of Willing was a misplay, because I don't think it was. But I do think we may have won this game if we had simply forced of willed the sphere instead of negating the sphere, which is pretty unfortunate. Not much to say, though. I think we mulliganed correctly. I think we played fine, and it didn't win. Can't play spells off the top of your library with a cage in play. Opponent should figure that out in a second. Why is it different? Force of Negation exiles and Force of Will doesn't, and so the exiled card was searched by Karn and they replayed it. Because Karn grabs things from exile, so they were able to grab the countered sphere and replay the sphere. Now, I'm not 100% sure that like playing an Energy Flux ahead of on curve is like enough to actually win the game, but it'll be closer. So technically, no, I think there's no outs. I don't think I have any outs. Trying to think of like a Time Walk into Wasteland Energy Flux. They still have enough to pay for exactly a Patchwork and Kill Me. So. Oh, it is what it is. Shops. So the good news is I have another Energy Flux, and I have Nature's Claims, and I can theoretically play Emissary. Not 100% sure on the Emissary part. Could theoretically play Dismembers. I don't like Null Rod, but I do like Flux. I don't like Misstep. I don't like Probe. I don't like Fluster. I don't like Fluster. I don't really like any of these cantrips, but on the play, it's probably fine. Nor do I really like Narset. But is Atraxa better than an Emissary? By being able to pitch to Force, is Atraxa better than an Emissary? I can't get Caracas, but I have plenty of answers to Caracas. They don't actually play answers to Emissary. It's the only thing is like, is it worth not being able to like pitch an Emissary to Force if you draw it? Is the thing. But I can do this. Like this is fine. I mean, like, what am I cutting for Dig Through Time at this point? Like, I'm cutting a Dig Through Time for another Dismember. Is that really worth it? Like, do they have enough cards that I want to Dismember? It's kind of hard to say. We don't know which list they're copying, but there's actually not that many targets in recent lists of prison shops, especially if they copy like a Loriwa deck where they don't even have Revoker. Like the current 9th place Mogged list is 4 Patchwork, 1 Lodestone, 3 Golos, 3 Metamorph. Like, I'm not really sure I want to play more Dismembers for that. It doesn't really seem right. I think I'm just going to keep it as a blue card that can sometimes be good. I just took all the cards that I wanted and put them on the wrong side. So that's less than ideal. Okay. Something like this. Could argue over a couple cards, but this is fine. I don't actually think this deck wants to play Force of Vigor. You don't actually have that many green cards. I think it's just better. Nature's Claim is just a kind of a better card for this deck. Man, I hate this hand so much. Whenever I draw Sapphire and Ren and 6 together, I get really sad. I mean, I have a negation and I have a Ren and 6, but I have no fetch land, but I have a wasteland. Like, I'm probably keeping this hand, but I don't think I'm particularly happy about it. And here, this Dig Through Time, if this Dig Through Time was a Dismember, you can't keep this hand, right? So that's kind of interesting. I have lots of like reasonable things to do about turn 1 Patchwork. I'm not particularly worried about that. Also, like, I'm pretty priced into negating like a Lotus or something too, so. I don't think this is a mulligan. I just don't think it's a very good hand. Though you could argue that our deck has much better mulligans. Like we have fluxes and oaths in our deck. Like you could definitely argue that we should just use the power of the London mulligan, but like if we are negating a sphere on turn 1, we have like all kinds of ponders and stuff to draw into. Am I priced into negating this? Kind of, but I don't think I'm going to. Kind of hoping they... Okay, I said I was priced into negating a Lotus, but if they play a Lotus second here, it means they don't have a Patchwork at all. But it could mean Golos. Are we really beating a Golos? Are we really beating this hand no matter what? That's probably a better question. Are we going to beat 8 mana on turn 1? They still have 6 cards in hand, by the way. I think we're going to lose. I think we're just going to die. Maybe we'll just draw an Oath off the top. Saga, I'm not super worried about. We have an active Wasteland. Mystic Forge. That's basically the best possible outcome for us. It's a high value negation target that uses Black Lotus. This is going to be a sphere. That's totally fine as well. Okay, I think we are now favored from this spot. That worked out basically the best it possibly could have, considering the circumstances. I think like there's a large quantity of hands that lead Mana Crypt Lotus that we just straight lost to there, unfortunately. I think we got a little lucky that the hand they had didn't really line up against our hand. So, won their flip. They have another saga. It's actually a little awkward because this sphere means we don't get to Wasteland immediately. But they have their own Wasteland. That's not the end of the world. It makes this Tropical Island a pretty reasonable draw. They have a play. Must be a drawn a Mox off the top. Oh, a Needle. Oh. So is this Needle on Ren or Wasteland or something? On Oko. I'm really far from casting an Oko. I can't imagine that that's correct. Two cards in my opponent's hand. Lost a flip. Well, the good news is they didn't have a Saga, so now they have to top deck a Saga. Coast Quarter. I don't have a basic. Nobody tell them. Please, for the love of God, nobody tell them. You just like this deck wants to play Basic Island, and Basic Island does not cast Red and 6, so it's like really, really hard. I'm just gonna ping down this Spirit. I don't need to like put a land back in my hand immediately, anyways. Hey, at least my opponent's not stream sniping me, right? We take the wins where we get them. I can't cast this negation this turn because I'm tapped out. So if my opponent hits like a workshop and casts a winning card, we can't counter it for what it's worth. But they drew a Saga. All right, so they can play a 3 mana card. They have a Nettle Cyst. They have a Crucible. They have the Nettle Cyst and we can't counter it. That's basically the worst possible outcome. I mean, I'm pretty much forced into the play that I made, so... Oh, that's a very good draw. All right, I will Wasteland the Saga and play an Oath of Druids. Put the card in our deck to draw it. As long as they don't have a Cage in hand, this is going to hit a Sarah's Emissary and we'll name Artifact, or I guess it will name Creature, and then we will be in a great spot. Drawing Flux was like pretty good too, for sure. No. Maybe. Yeah, you might be right. The problem is with leaving up anything, they could always wasteland me as well, right? And I guess they wouldn't wasteland. They wouldn't wasteland a wasteland. They wouldn't ghost quarter a wasteland. So maybe last card in hand and pass. Okay, looks like we get to play another game. I feel pretty lucky to say we get to play another game. Lots of things went wrong in that one. Gonna name creature because this germ is a creature, not an artifact, but don't think it's gonna matter too much. Yeah, I guess I could hold open Sapphire. That's fair. So yeah, maybe letting them have a Saga for one turn is better, and holding up negation is better. I could see that. Okay. They do have possibly have metamorphs in their deck. If they have metamorphs, what happens? They lose to Mana Crypt, I guess. Why do we fear Golos Caracas? Can't they have it enter as an emissary and then they get protection from creatures, or no? I don't think this doesn't protection doesn't mean you can't copy it, right? Well, if they have protection from creatures and I have protection from creatures, I have an Oko, but it's needled. They have a Mana Crypt. Do we beat it? We might. I mean, I think we eventually beat it, yes. For what it's worth, I think we do eventually beat it. So I think that's what Grim is trying to say, which I think is correct. So I can get my other one because I have a Gaia's Blessing and I can't, well, I guess I can technically mill out if like my Gaia's Blessing is my last card. In that case, should I just like if my Gaia's Blessing is my last card and my Sarah's Emissary is my second to last card, then that would be the only one that I can lose to. I can just attack twice. I think it's fine. Yeah, I guess that's true. We could hard cast the Gaia's Blessing to shuffle 3 cards in. Fair. Okay. I mean, it doesn't actually speed up the clock at all, and I don't know if it matters, so I think it's fine. All right. I think we got a little lucky there that our opponent did not Ghost Quarter us, but they were trying to keep the Ghost Quarter so they could cast Nettlecyst, so it makes sense. Man, we kept a very weak hand and it lined up well against what they had going on. Yeah, I mean, we run it back. On the draw versus shops, definitely worst place to be. Is what it is, though. Yeah. They are not creature heavy. They have 4 Patchwork Automatons, 3 Goloses, and that's it. Or maybe they have some Rokers. In Vintage, you don't bring in Tabernacle unless your opponent is playing Bazaar Baghdad. That's basically the golden rule. Oh, good point from Dreshy. Technically, my opponent could Ghost Quarter us. Yeah, I don't think there are very many losing scenarios activating Oath the second time there, but I also don't think we were losing if we don't, so I might as well not. This is a qualifier for the Mox, a much more powerful tournament than a regional championship. Would I bring in Tab against Goblins? No. Well, like, there's like no... The Goblins deck I'm thinking of is combo Goblins. If you're thinking more of like a Muxus Goblins, then maybe. But you're usually already dead. We have to mulligan this hand. Obviously, we don't have blue mana. We don't have Force of Will, and nothing works. Maybe we'll mulligan into a nice Lotus Flux hand. Shit. This is rough. I think this has to be mulliganed as well. Simply doesn't have a force and doesn't have mana. So if we get turn 1 sphered, we can't play the game. I guess theoretically, if we get turn 1 sphered, we can play a Flooded Strand. They can't wasteland it, and then we can play Strip Mine Claim, but... Well, to be more specific, this is a qualifier for the Mox qualifier, but it's not the best naming convention for what it's worth. We're on 6, and we're on a draw against a 7-card Golos Shops hand. I have Nature's Claim, which is great in the matchup, Oath, which is great in the matchup, Flux, which is great in the matchup, but I don't have a force to get us there or enough lands to realistically cast all of these cards. The problem is if we mulligan, we're down to 5 cards. And if we keep a force hand with 5 cards, our hand has to be really good. Our hand has to be like, I mean, like, what can our hand possibly be? Like, it has to be like Land Ancestral or something? We could keep a Mindbreak Trap hand. I'm going to mulligan this hand. I think a lot of people would keep this hand, but I don't think so. I'm going to mulligan. Fuck. Wait, why do I have a... Why do I have a Jet in my deck? Why is there a Jet in my deck, and why isn't this a Ruby? Oh, it happened again! I can't register the cards I want to register. I played 3 leagues and I haven't seen a Jet? How does this keep happening to me? I'm so bad. Like, this hand is actually okay. This hand, I mean, I have to keep this hand, right? Like, I've got a 4. I mean, would I keep this if it was a Ruby? Maybe. I'm gonna mulligan this hand as well. Well, that's my best hand by a large amount. So there we go. Bottom, bottom, bottom. Keep Force Ancestral. This is like this is like the 3rd tournament I've registered the wrong cards in my deck. Saga Gaming. Soul Ring. If I get mental messed up, I'll cry. Just need an oath. I guess not, because I'll get a cage off of this saga, but like a wasteland off the top. I don't rate that as a very good draw. This is probably worth keeping. Do I have to fetch to avoid a needle though? I mean, I need a land. Like I have to have a land, so. I mean, I can't. I could fetch and like not keep the flux. I mean, if they're getting a needle here, are we like that mad? I guess if I get needled and I get wastelanded, I have no lands, and then I have to draw flux. So I have to fetch. So I lose my flux no matter what. Yeah, shit. I mean, I think I have to keep that ponder because I think I have to keep fetch land every time. Like I need this land. So I'm gonna fetch in response here, and I have to. Maybe they're just gonna get caged though. See what happens. This was a pretty good comeback for a 4-card hand, but we are really missing resources here. They have a lot more cards than we do. They've got Mana Crypt. Jeez. For what? Karn? For Forge? Maybe I can DAC this. They kept the card on top and didn't activate Forge. Not a great sign. I drew Mindbreak Trap. Not great. Man, I wish I had an Energy Flux. Yeah, I think we're going to lose this game anyways. We drew pretty well, so I can't really be too mad, honestly. Just hope our opponent doesn't have a needle and doesn't name Misty. I don't know. I don't really like that play. Patchwork. Chalice on 0. Well, I can like trap another card off the top, I guess. This is just going to run me over, huh? That worked out, I guess. Yeah, I don't think it's a good play. I don't think not fetching. Oath and Flux are both game-winning draws here. We also can draw Ponder. Oko. Oko's so bad here. So what do I do with this Oko though? I Oko. I plus and hope they don't hit 2 artifacts. No, they only have to hit 1 artifact. So I can just turn this Forge into a creature, but like how long do I last if I do that? I mean, it just saves me life. This is like not good here. I think if we Oko Forge, we just die. So I think we just make a food and make our opponent kill our Oko. I think we'll lose. I think if we elk our opponent's creature, we don't have enough outs and we will lose. So it's either don't play Oko or play Oko and have it eat for 6 damage here. I think playing the fetch land is... Yeah, maybe we could have played the Orchard instead. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's like, it's usually correct to play the fetch land there to give you the ability to fetch if you think you don't need the card anymore. But maybe with the Wasteland in play, it wasn't the case. I mean, opponent can go for lots of different things. It's really tough. It turns out my opponent didn't go for Cage because they had a Cage in their hand. So it was like a little awkward. I mean, we didn't lose a land, but I felt like we were going to lose a land. Ah, they drew Academy. Sick. All right, well, we lost this game, and we lost our LCQ here, but I mean, we mulliganed a million times, so it's not much we can do about it. I guess we can still draw Oath, right? We can still draw Oath. All right, try drawing Oath. Even before we draw Sarah's Emissary. Crucible Wasteland Lock. Sick. Oh, we don't even have time. We're dead. My opponent hit pretty nice off of this Mystic Forge. Okay. I mean, they high rolled. It is what it is. Well. Short stream, huh? Yeah, Shops is still Shops. Yeah, we're just dead on board. Unfortunate. We drew really well to get out of that, like from a multi-4. We just needed to hit an Oath earlier. Damn, 2 cards down. The Oath was 2 cards down. Oh, I mean, we're dead. Like, we could technically play this out for play points, but I don't think I'm going to. So, yeah. So yeah, obviously the take on Jet out of here and get the Emerald, the Ruby. And I played 3 leagues without ever drawing a Jet, for what it's worth. I don't know how that's happened. I don't know how that happened, but okay. I still think this deck is a decent spot. Obviously, I don't even know. I think Prison Shops is probably a pretty good matchup, but we like lost the die roll, barely lost game 1, and then game 3 we mulliganed to 4. So it's really hard to win the game of Magic when you mulligan to 4 and your opponent keeps the 7-card hand. Their 7-card hand wasn't that good, for what it's worth. Like, they kept like Saga Soul Ring, and we got like a lot of pressure by countering Soul Ring. But we just didn't draw the right cards off of Ancestral. We needed a little bit better draws off of Ancestral. I think that the one play we could have changed is obviously that Ponder. If theoretically we put we draw fetch land or flux and then we play out Orchard instead, if our opponent plays in the exact same way, then we get to flux them. Maybe I was like, I think I was mostly thinking like in that situation, you normally want to just play the fetch land because this gives you more utility. You are like, you can, if flux isn't good, like say they wasteland my other land, right? Then I can fetch away the flux that I can't cast. But the problem with that line of thinking is my opponent has an active Saga, so they theoretically could have a Needle. so they could needle my fetch land, and then in the point where they needle my fetch land, I actively lost the game on the spot. So I was forced to fetch anyways. So I think it was just like incorrect. It was incorrect to play the fetch land. It was just not reevaluating heuristics, I guess. So yeah, I guess the only change I would really make, obviously I would change the wrong Moxen, but I think the hands that I mulliganed were correct. Let's look at the hands we mulliganed for a second. So the hands we mulliganed were that's fine. And then this was a good keep, I think, and it just wasn't good enough to beat their hand. I'm okay with how that game went. And then in game 3, we can't keep this hand on 7. We can't keep this hand on 7. We could keep this hand on 6. And it would have been a little interested. No, I guess we would get murdered if we kept this hand because they had turn 1 sphere, right? Yeah, we could have kept this hand on 6, but we would have definitely lost. I think this hand is not a keep against shops on the draw. I'm very happy with mulliganing this 6-card hand. That's fine. And then our 5-card hand was bad. If our 5-card hand had a ruby, would I have kept it? Possibly. It would have probably lost, but you can theoretically keep this if it's a ruby. 5 cards, you would bottom, I don't know, Dismember Tropical or something. Seems really tough though. I already did. The jet's already gone. So I'm not. And then this hand was great, obviously. You are forced to put away these cards and keep these cards. I really like getting rid of Soldering here because it means they're not making constructs and means they're not playing a sphere. And then we drew well. Like we drew another counter spell. Yeah, that's fine. Obviously this draw sucks, right? Like if we draw a Oath here, it's not even that great. So yeah, I could have just taken Flux and Misty, and then if I just play, like if I do the same thing except I just play the Orchard instead. Playing the Orchard instead. Yeah, I guess I just sequenced badly. And we lost because of it. I mean, it's like kind of rough to draw the Energy Flux if I get Wastelanded, but it's not like the end of the world. I do still have to fetch away the Sarah's Emissary, but okay. Yeah, maybe maybe it's my mistake then. Okay, I'm done. If you want to see more vintage content like this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on my YouTube channel, I'll see you then.